Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Face Off Hockey Podcast, episode number 8. Coming up next, we got the New York Rangers and Montreal Canadiens season preview. What are our expectations? What do the rosters look like? And all that coming up next on the Face Off Hockey Podcast. Hey Scott, how's it going today?
All right, self. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, must be excited for tonight, huh?
I am very, shaking off the another disappointing end to a Mets season. But what else is new? It's the story of the last 30 years of my life. So let's just dive right back into the hockey season. I am loving life. For the first time in about 5 years, as a Ranger fan, I'm going into the season with high expectations. We didn't have them for about 3-4 years of the rebuild. Last year, we thought we went into the season with modest expectations, I'd say. We thought we could compete with a wild card, but we did not see the season coming that we had and the playoff run. And I think we had a very good offseason. I think it's time to expand on that. And we are absolutely going into the season with Stanley Cup contending, shall we say, aspirations.
My question is, when I take a look at your roster, and I'll be honest, I'd switch rosters with you tomorrow, right? I take a look at it. I'm just not sure you guys have enough firepower to win a cup this year.
Well, we know, with Panarin, Kreider, they've got some question marks or some eyebrow raisers, I should say, on the top six. Kakko is getting the start on the top six, and so is Kravtsov, and I did not see that coming. The kid line, which was so great last playoffs, we talked about that last week. It can't stay together forever when you have guys like Kakko, a number 2 overall pick, Lafreniere, number 1 overall pick. They're not going to remain on the third line, obviously. So Kakko's going to get the start on the second line, with Panarin on the left and Trocheck centering that. So as we saw with Panarin, a new phase of his game last year, he had over 70 assists. So he's a dual threat. Not only is he an incredible sniper, but the guy's an incredible setup man. And Ryan Strome being replaced with Vincent Trocheck at center, who is a major league upgraded second line center. So we're going to see what Kakko can do. And this is his year with those two guys setting him up. And not to mention Kakko is a very good playmaker too. He didn't have the points that Lafreniere and Hedl had. He wasn't as noticeable on the score sheet, but he was very instrumental in a lot of those, in the success that the kid line had. He was just as great as the other two. Sometimes to make a great play, it doesn't show up in the assist column. So be it. He had a couple goals. He had some assists. And now he's going to get the start on the second line. Whether or not he remains there, I don't know. Whether or not he remains on the team, I don't know. Of course, there's that Patrick Kane cloud looming over pretty much any team who's a contender. So there's that.
I think he's exactly just the type of player you guys need to really go all the way. That'll be my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I'm sorry. I think I believe I made a mistake. I think Kakko is going to be on the first line actually with Kreider and Zibanejad. And the second line. Exactly. But first line, second line, there's no difference. It's not until you get into the third line and the fourth, of course, that there's really a difference in ice time. And of course, last playoffs, when your third line is your best line, that completely shakes up the dynamic there. So first line, second line, there's really no difference. That's why you use the term top six forward. So I believe Kakko is going to get the start on the first line with Zibanejad and Kreider, and of course, Kreider became quite the finisher, as we knew he could. And I think that, but Zibanejad's a great setup man, great center. So same thing. And we can just amend that statement about Trocheck and Panarin and put Kravtsov in there. That one, I don't know if I agree with. The problem is we're very top heavy at left wing and very weak at right wing. So enter Kravtsov as a right wing. We don't really have the depth that we have at left. which is why he's getting the start there, and why on the second line, and why Lafreniere is still destined to the third line, because who's he going to replace? Is he going to replace Panarin? Is he going to replace Kreider? No.
No.
So, Lafreniere's on the third line, but only because he's got two incredible, top of the league types of left wings ahead of him. So that's, I understand that. Right wing, we're a little weaker, so Kravtsov will be there. I don't know about Kravtsov over. I'm sorry. Well, Kakko is going to be okay. Yeah. Okay. So Kravtsov on the second line, Kakko on the first line. Like I said, it's pretty much interchangeable, and it's just to start things. They may not even finish the game with the lines that they're setting, let alone 10 games from now. It's just you got to put something out to start and see how it. The old adage, throw something against the wall, see what sticks. So we're gonna find out. I would like a little more depth at right wing, and even if we do acquire Kane somehow, it is probably going to cost us Kakko. Which, is a right wing for a right wing. So we wouldn't be adding any depth to right wings. We would just be adding, one of the best players in the league. Yeah, it would really be an upgrade. And like I said, I don't want Kakko traded. I don't want this misinterpreted. I don't want him traded. He's only 21 and he is developing. He did have a great playoffs, his first playoffs last year. And he looked at ease. He looked like he belonged there, just like Hedl and Kakko. I'm sorry, Hedl and Lafreniere and all these guys that were playing in their first playoffs. They all looked comfortable. So this is Kakko's. He's on the clock now. I think again he's only 21. Even if he doesn't get 60, 70, 80 points this year, again still not a bust. He's only 21. He's just been in the league a few years. But I think this is his. For the first time in his career, in his very young, brief career so far, I think this is the first time he's really on the clock. And I would like. Yeah, and I would like to see him, excel and show. I mean, we got him. You draft the guy second overall. He's expected to be a top 6 guy. I would like to see this is the year where he, makes his mark and deserves to be in that top 6. And I'd like to get to the point where we don't need a backup game. But who knows?
What do you think? What do you think the problem is? What do you think is holding him back right now? Is it work ethic? Does he not have the speed, or is there something missing?
It's a great question. I can't really put my finger on it. Like we've talked about Kreider for 9 years. That was clearly work ethic. It wasn't anything about the skills, the size, the speed, nothing, the shot, playmaking, puck puck sense. That's not the term, but you know what I mean. It wasn't any of that. So there's really nothing I can pinpoint with Kakko other than just youth. Again, this is his. I think this is his 4th year or 3rd. I'm actually looking that up right now. He is
heading into his 4th NHL season, I believe.
4th. Okay, so he's played 3 years now. Two of those years, the Rangers were terrible. They were still in the rebuild mode. Again, he was 18 and 19. So, that's why, we both agree that this is the first series on the clock. So, it was good that they were terrible to get those first couple of years out of his system. You had the bubble year, et cetera. So I just have a guy second overall like that, who's, the highlights. Remember when he was drafted, he was playing in that international tournament where he was playing with all these NHL guys, and he looked like one of the best players in that tournament on the ice. The whole another adage, kids playing against men, et cetera. Like, you look at Wayne Gretzky's stats when he was like, 15 playing with 17, 18-year-olds and putting up 100 points in his very brief juniors career. Now, again, don't misinterpret that. Not comparing Kakko to Gretzky. Out to be 1% of Gretzky. We could probably call him a Hall of Famer. So I don't think. I think it's just some guys develop slower than others, and again, he's only 21. He's just because he was such a high prospect and a phenom, he got the start at 18, 19, something like we talked about last week. They're not going to make the mistake with Brendan Ottman. Again, not even close to putting Kako in the bust category, but maybe he should have been in the minors for a couple of years. I don't know.
Maybe that's the big question we have here, because it came out that Juraj Slafkovsky made the team. A lot of people are saying, well, maybe you should spend a year in the minors. But honestly, I thought the last 3 games he playing against like real NHL teams, with the exception of when he was playing on the top line, he was facing off against top line opposition, and he didn't have a great game. He was clearly struggling a bit with the speed, but his third to last in the last game, he really stepped it up a notch, and he looked better than some slam dunk roster players right now. Like for instance, it looks like Jonathan Drouin is going to be a healthy scratch on the opening night. Which is a big deal. A Quebec was destined to be a superstar, but he lacks the work ethic. He just, to me, he comes across as a guy that doesn't love the game of hockey. That's what I see when I watch him play. It seems to me that he did it because he was good, very good at it, but I don't think he loves it. Maybe I'm totally out to lunch, but that's just the feeling I get when I watch Jonathan Drouin play hockey. And actually, he was actually a rotation player on the second line. So who knows? It's either him or Mike Hoffman that's going to be a healthy scratch.
No, there's nothing wrong with what you just said, because I just gave you a perfect example of a guy on our team that we went through for 9 years was Chris Kreider. So, you have some of these, and it's a shame, two reasons, when a guy has the talent to not only be at this level, but excel and be one of the better players in the league. Two things you don't want to see. You don't want to see a career cut short by injuries, and also you don't want to see it cut short by lack of work ethic, by a guy dragging ass. We went through it for 9 years with Kreider. He finally was able to shake that last year, and hopefully, that's a question mark too. Are we going to get last year's Kreider, or are we going to get the previous 9 years of Kreider?
Well, I mean, we've been waiting for Jonathan Drouin to have, a good season for a while. He had his career season with us, 52 points. That's his career year. Never scored more than 20 goals. Never got more than 52 points. If he doesn't put up numbers this year, at least comparable to his career year, I think next year he's going to be on a PTO, right? Because he's on his last year of his contract. And if he does have a decent season, then we'll be able to trade him for something. But if not, might look to get rid of him for like a 7th rounder. And I don't even know if a team would do that right now, right?
Yeah,
because he's had injury problems, both wrists he messed up. But the last couple of years, he started off great. Then he got injured, totally derailed the season. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen this year? But, if being a healthy scratch on night 1 of the NHL season doesn't send you a message, then there's no hope.
Yeah, no, that's, that's a great point. You can react one of two ways to that. It can light a fire under you, and you can come out, when you do get the start, guns blazing, and prove that, because now he obviously knows he has to prove himself to be there. So he can either do that, or he can mope and he can give up. It's going to be one of the two.
Skill-wise, you would think that a guy like Marty St. Louis would be able to bring the best out of him, because they're similar type players, right? Just Marty St. Louis had that fire. You saw it in his eyes. Jonathan Drouin just doesn't look like he cares. I'm sure he does care, but he needs to raise his level of care, right? Because just taking a look at the Canadiens lines for tomorrow night, this is how we're lining up, it looks like. So first line, you got Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Josh Anderson. No big surprise there. Josh Anderson, I just wish he had a little bit more skill, but he's the type of player that line needs. Second line, we have Sean Monahan playing on the wing with Kirby Dach and Mike Hoffman. And like I said, so either Mike Hoffman or Jonathan Drouin can be a healthy scratch. And on the third line, which is where Juraj Slafkovsky would be, he's playing with Christian Dvorak and Brendan Gallagher, two, hardworking, good two-way players. Christian Dvorak can win faceoffs, get you the puck. Then Jonathan Drouin is the extra forward on that line, on the third line. Then fourth line, no big surprise. Again, Ren Picklig, we picked off of waivers last year, Evgeny Danilov and Michael Pezzetta as the extra. Then on defense, though, I find it's where it gets even more interesting, right? Because we have Joel Edmondson, who's re-aggravated his back injury last year. So on the top pairing right now is a setup. We have Caden Gooley with David Savard, who's on the first pairing. God help us all. Then we have Arbor Jacki with Chris Weidman. I think, Arbor Jacke is a bit more of a stay-at-home guy, throw big hits. He also has some offensive flair that he's shown with Chris Weidman, who's definitely more of a, offensive-minded defenseman. Then we have Jordan Harris with Jonathan Kovacevic, who we just picked off waivers. So once Joel Edmondson comes back and Michael Matheson, who's probably going to be out, the question is who's going to go down. I think it'll probably be Arbor Jacki and Jordan Harris, although Jacki might be a good seventh defenseman, but you want him playing. So that's the only questions I have right now is what's going to happen when all the healthy bodies come back, right? Because part of the reason Juraj Slafkovsky is also on the team is because Joel Armia just got injured, right? So that opened up an extra spot for him. But Joel Armia, again, he didn't show anything really much in the preseason. Yeah, he had a great World Championship and a great playoff a couple years ago, but last year he had like career low season, and he was looking like a guy. He prorated his numbers over the last couple of years. He's a 20 goal scorer if you prorate his numbers, with the exception of last year. But then another thing that Marc Bergevin left in his wake was signing him to a 4-year deal at almost $3 million cap hit for a guy playing on the fourth line. Mm-hmm. So we're probably gonna have to live with him until his contract's up, because nobody's going to take him unless we retain some salary.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, but so how you're realistic? Obviously, we talked about that last week. You have no unrealistic expectations. You're just looking for the kids to grow. You're looking to see how Marty St. Louis does in his first year.
Exactly. I think we'll finish last in the East, honestly.
I'm looking at the conference right now. Yeah, that's that is a possibility, because last year you did finish last. Ottawa and Detroit were ahead of you, and those teams both got significantly better. I think those teams,
especially Ottawa.
Yeah.
I don't. Philadelphia is probably gonna be bad again. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Philadelphia did nothing. They gained a coach basically by picking up. I'm obviously familiar with Tortorella. Tortorella's got a very short shelf life. He's going to come in there as a drill sergeant. They are going to be better. He's going to come in there as a drill sergeant. He's going to flip the culture on its head and not put up with, even if they are a terrible team, they're going to play. Anybody who wants to play is going to have to really, hit the ice running, because as everybody knows, Tortorella does not tolerate any kind of dragging ass, no matter how bad the team is. So if these guys on Philly want to have a spot and get playing time, they're going to have to be a lot better than they were last year, even if, on paper, they're not a playoff team yet. Mm-hmm. So look for some improvement out of them, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere near a playoff spot. In my division, I think it's Carolina and the Rangers, I think, will be competing for the division title, just like last year. You've got Pittsburgh and Washington competing for that 3 spot. Now, Pittsburgh and Washington are interesting here. I think the Crosby and Ovechkin eras are coming to an end. Obviously, they're both still incredible. They're both still elite. Ovechkin 50 goals last year, and now he's got Wayne Gretzky's 894 in his sights.
I think if he scores 50 this year, he's only 60-something goals away.
If he gets 50, I believe I did the math a while ago. I don't remember, but he for the next 3 years he needs 30 something. I don't remember. I want to say 38. So anything, and obviously he is going to start to slow down. He put up 50 last year, so it hasn't happened yet.
Well, all he has to do is stand in his spot and fire away.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming, but everybody knows it's coming, but it's probably one of the greatest shots in the history of the game. It can't be stopped. Mm-hmm. So if anything over 38 lowers what he needs for the next 2 years, I'm putting that 3 years here to be generous, because he's probably going to play 4, maybe 5. I could see him playing
36 now, 37.
I think he'll be 37 at some point during the year.
Yeah, because he was drafted 2 years before Crosby, right? Because during the lockout, I don't believe they had a draft. Well, they were just
that is correct. There was no draft in 04, 05. He's 37. birthday, September 7th. So he just turned 37. So he's got 3 years left. Now, yes, he is going to slow down. So anything over 38, reduces what he needs, obviously. If he can get 50 this year, barring injury, of course.
He could break it next year.
Yeah, it's pretty much a done deal if he can get 50 this year. He just wants to stay above that 38 pace.
If he breaks it next year, I think he retires and finishes his career in the KHL. That's what I think will happen. I mean, they re-signed him to what, a 3-year extension a couple of years ago?
Might be, but Ovechkin, is a Yager type of guy. I don't see him going to the KHL, because he's just loving life here. Mm-hmm. It depends his level of play. I think, I'm going to compare him to Yager. Yager played, what was he, 42, 43 when he finally called it quits in the NHL, and then went back to the Czech Republic. So I think Ovechkin will play until he's no longer an asset to his team, and I think that's what Yager did. And even as a 41-year-old or whatnot, slowing down or whatnot, he's still going to be a huge draw, the KHL. So he might put up a couple of years there, but I don't think he's going to do it until he's got nothing left to offer the NHL. I think, he definitely wants that Gretzky record. I think he wants another cup, though. He is a team player. He is, he's not all about the personal achievements. We saw how nuts he went with the Stanley Cup when he finally won it.
Yeah.
That 24
he had that
hours.
Song, Lick My Pussy and My Crack or whatever going on repeat the whole time. I don't know if you saw the video of Alex Ovechkin loves the song, and every video he's in, that song is playing. He's having dinner with his family and he's singing along.
That's actually the first time hearing about that. I gotta look into that.
My pussy and my crack. He's singing along.
That's actually the first time hearing about that. So I need to look into that.
Google it
after. I definitely will. Yeah, I was just referring to
my neck, my back.
I was just referring to the party he was having, the pictures of him in bed with it, Vegas. I mean, he was out at the clubs with it. I mean, he just he was obviously winning the Stanley Cup meant a lot to him, and that's what you like to see.
That's all he had missing from his trophy case, right?
Right, exactly.
Then an Olympic gold medal. I'll never forget that 7-2 drubbing of them in 2010.
Well, we don't talk about 2010. That offended me.
Sidney Crosby, the golden goal.
You can bring up 2002, which was in the United States, which is in Salt Lake City, which we also lost to Canada in the gold medal game. You can bring up 2002 before I will allow you to bring up 2010.
2002? Well, I think we beat you in the final there too.
You did. That was the game.
Where Mario Lemieux let the puck through his legs. He had like a dummy assist, right?
I don't remember. I remember it was like a 2-1 or 3-2 or something game. It was not OT. I remember watching the game. It's how that game went down is not as forefront in my mind as 2010 was. But that was obviously disappointing. That was it was in the United States. That was right after 9/11. People were still waving flags around here. It was still cool to love this country back then. That was a big blow. We really wanted that one. More so than than any other.
Yeah, I was actually living in Michigan at the time, so I rubbed it in their face quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember where I was for that. I was at the company I was working for was a food industry based company, and I was out in Monterey, California at a convention. So everybody from this convention went out to watch the game, and there was a table of Canadian people in this bar in Monterey, California, watching it. They obviously we're very happy. I'll never forget this group of older guys, yelling and screaming in French. They happen to be from your neck of the woods, I would assume. Out there in California. Obviously loving life, and the other 98% of the bar not so happy.
Yeah. But and some other big news today. I don't know. Obviously, you've heard about the Hockey Canada scandal.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
just
and how there
not
was a
going away.
second fund that they discovered that was set up in 1986 to pay off victims of sexual assault. So
Really?
yeah, that just came out last week, and now today, all the board of Hockey Canada stepped down. Thank God. It's one step in the right direction because there's no way these people, after taking money from children who signed up to hockey, they're taking $3 from any sign up and putting that money into a fund to pay off victims of sexual assault is
Yeah, that is not a good look.
disgusting. I mean, right? And the government just cut off all funding to men's programs, which is but now hopefully they'll get some funding back because everybody's gonna step down. But that's just one part of it. Now next thing is we need some names. We need to find out who these players were, right? But I think we're able to connect the dots because when players weren't involved, they said I had nothing to do with that. But then there's some other guys saying, well, I can't comment on that. I've been like my lawyer told me not to comment on that, blah blah blah. Obviously the players who can't comment and aren't coming out saying they had nothing to do with it probably were involved. It's a big leap to say, or maybe they knew and didn't say anything, so that's another possibility. But if you
Yeah,
find out stuff like that is going on, it's you don't be a rat, but it's your responsibility to
yeah.
come
No,
out and say this happened, right?
no, I agree 100%. We had something similar. Not, I'm sure not just in Canada, but in the entire hockey and sports world. It's what you're dealing with is a little bigger. But remember the Penn State scandal from Joe Paterno's final, what turned out to be his final season, obviously. Joe Paterno did not abuse anyone. However, he knew about it and he covered it up to protect the program. That makes him guilty as hell. So yeah, I get what you're saying. If you've had absolutely nothing to do with it, why would you not adamantly, with every microphone you can get your hands on from the top of a mountain, scream it out? I have nothing to hide. I had nothing to do with it. So yeah, if anyone who says, my lawyer advised me not to comment, chances are they have something that they cannot reveal and some kind of involvement, whether it's knowledge.
So and the last one I heard to talk about that was Drake Batherson, who's looking like he could be quite the player for the Ottawa Senators. But if it comes out and you find out who was involved, these guys need a lifetime ban from the NHL. They need to go to jail and should not allowed to play hockey ever again.
No, absolutely. Protecting these guys, protecting predators like that, not as bad as doing the act yourself, but it's up there, and there has to be severe punishment for it.
Yeah, right. And part of it is that the players, like one of them, did it with the girl. Then he invited his buddies into the room. They brought their golf clubs just to make them look threatening, and then they videotaped the whole thing, right? They said on the videotape says just consenting, but were they holding golf clubs to her head in the background where we couldn't see that? I haven't seen the video. Nobody has, but
right. Did they? They could have been that. It could have been something as extreme as that. It could have been just because of who these guys were. The Canada Hockey Organization, just that probably like a mafia. At least the aura of like a mafia kind of thing. And, these, they girls were probably, just terrified of that, at the very least, it could have been anything as low as that or as high as physically, like you mentioned, physically keeping them there or something. They could have been drugged. They could have, it's no matter what it is, it's just awful.
Yeah,
and people need to go down for it. Yeah, everyone.
Anyways, we got about 10 minutes left, just a bit under 10 minutes left. So how about we go with some bold predictions for each team?
For each team, meaning just like our two teams or every team, or do you want to do like a division thing?
No, let's talk about our two teams. I mean, we are Montreal Canadiens and New York Rangers focused. That's what our people want to hear. So let's give them what they want.
Okay, well, All right, I guess I'll start. I like the Rangers winning the division. I really do. I think they only finished 6 points back of Carolina last year. Carolina pretty much clinched it by beating the Rangers in their last meeting in the toward the end there. But then Carolina just didn't lose the rest of the way. Ended up breaking it open a little bit. I think the Rangers had a little better of an offseason. Carolina did lose a top, one of their top two centers in Trocheck, and say what you want about Tony DeAngelo, but he was great for them. They replaced with Brent Burns. I've never been a Brent Burns fan. I've talked about the defensemen like your PK Subbans, your Eric Carlsons, your Mike Greens, guys like that who are for some strange reason are always in the Norris Trophy conversation and have won Norris trophies, but I've always had a problem with the Norris. It's too offensive minded heavy. And guys like your PK Subbans, who you're obviously very familiar with, guys that can generate a lot of offense on the blue line, but are defensive liabilities. I obviously happen to, I'm very familiar with that. Guys like Dan Boyle, who am I thinking of? Keith Yandel, guys like that. Yandel, was a Norris contender at some point. Guys like that. And I'm putting Brent Burns in that category. And Carolina's known for their insane shutdown defense. I saw it firsthand. There's another defenseman I believe they lost as well. And I think, replacing a guy like Brent Burns, I think he's all offense. Not to mention he's
they lost Dougie Hamilton a couple of years ago.
Couple of years, yeah, he went to New Jersey. It's funny because they traded Adam Fox to the Rangers because they didn't have room for him at the time. They had a defensive surplus, and now here they are. I think they're still going to be good defensively, but I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year.
I don't think so either.
Their goaltending is always questionable at best. So I think that we go over the hump. And I think that's our division to win or lose. I think Washington and Pittsburgh will compete for wild cards in that 3 spot. But I think Pittsburgh did a good job about re-signing Raquel. I think they, for the most part, kept themselves a playoff team. I'm nervous about Washington. I'm not nervous about them. They're in my division. I want them to be good. I want Ovechkin to score 55 goals. I don't want the team to be very good. So my prediction, I'll put the Rangers at winning the division. Beyond that, I make,
that's reasonable.
I will make no playoff. We'll address the playoffs when we get to it, depending on what kind of season they have. When the team has won one Stanley Cup since World War II, so I'm not going to pick anything there. I like them winning the division there. As far as your team, I guess I'll give you a shout out before you take the reins, and I say, I don't like you coming in dead last in the conference. I like either Buffalo or Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, Buffalo or Philadelphia coming in dead last. I think you've got some youth. I think Marty St. Louis is going to put a fun. He's a player's coach, a coach that they're going to want to play for. We saw a little bit of it toward the end of the last year. I think they definitely got better just by putting him in the mix. I think they're going to have fun out there.
Yeah,
and when you're having fun, it's the mentality. I'm sure that the team knows full well that they're not going to be a Stanley Cup contender, and I think they're going to. He's going to put in a culture there, going to have them having fun, and so I think I'm going to have them finishing third last.
Okay, first thing, I think we're going to be the highest scoring team in NHL history to not make the playoffs. That's my first bold prediction because our offense looks fine. Big problem is on defense. Young defense, we're going to give up a lot of goals. So I see us losing a lot of 4-3, 5-2, 5-3 type of games, which is fine. As long as we're entertained, that's what we want this year. We want to see the young guys progress. Number 2, I think Cole Caulfield hits it this year. I think he hits the 40 goal mark, right? He was on, when Martin St. Louis took over, he was on pace for a 49 goal season. Just if you prorate that. Number 2, I think Nick Suzuki is going to get 70 points this year, which would be like an 8-point increase on last year. He's also clipping about a point a game when Martin St. Louis took over. And we definitely finished last in the Atlantic. I still think that because of our defense and our goaltending, that we have Jake Allen, who's solid but not for more than 50 games a year. I think because our defense and goaltending, I think we will finish last in the East. Not by a lack of trying. We're definitely gonna be working hard. We're not blatantly looking to tank like a Chicago, let's say, right? They just cleaned house. I don't understand what they're doing there, but. So that's what I think. I think we finished last. We're gonna get more than 30 wins this year because there was a record number of teams that had less than 30 wins last year. I think it was like 6 or 7, which is like a total anomaly. Like right last year, the bad teams were really bad. And I don't think we'll be as bad this year, but we'll still be one of the worst. As for the Rangers, I think you guys might win the East altogether. I think Tampa is going to take a step back. They lost some assets. I don't see them being a powerhouse this year. I mean, Florida, who knows how things work out there, right? So I see the Rangers winning the East, and I think you guys make it to at least the conference finals again. And once you get there, anything can happen.
Sure.
That and Alexis Lafreniere breaks out this year and scores at least 20 goals. So those are my predictions for the Rangers.
Okay, I like that. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch the game tonight. It's on TV here, so I'll be able to talk about it next week, right? Instead of just looking at stats and the highlights. But I think that about wraps it up for today. Anyways, good luck tonight. Who are you guys playing again?
We are playing Tampa. We're picking up right where we left off last year.
Should be a great game. It'll be a good indicator of what Tampa Bay looks like this year, even though, these teams really get going after Christmas. That's when the real season starts, as they like to say, right?
Yeah, sure.
Dog days of winter. But besides that, go Habs, go. Let's go Rangers. And
amen to that.
Yeah, as usual, keep your head up and stick on the ice. And we'll see you next week on another episode of Face Off Hockey Podcast.
All right. Happy hockey season, everyone.
Happy hockey season.